Anyway, it was much more likely the jackhole had been bringing some bimbo around in a sick attempt to get back at Gina for dumping his pathetic ass.
Well, if someone is doing that in your truck, that's just unsanitary. You serve food out of that.
Trust Mrs. Spaghetti to focus on the food rather than the fact that her truck was being broken into. I sanitize the truck every morning, Mrs. Spaghetti, and I did that even before this happened. Everything is perfectly okay to serve. I promise. Mrs. Spaghetti humphed.
I still say you should call the police and let them handle it.
Gina tried to keep her temper in check, but if Mrs. Spaghetti didn't clam up, all this talking was going to alert Tony that something was up. I have no proof. Yet. He'll deny it, and then it's his word against mine. But I never had a lick of trouble with my truck until we broke up. The coincidence is a little too convenient for me. So, I'm going to park my ass right here on this fire escape until I find out exactly who is kinking up in my truck. I'll call the cops once I've caught him with his pants down and he can't deny it. After I junk punch him a few times, of course.
Well, I want no part of this,
Mrs. Spaghetti said, planting her fists on her hips. Never invited you along. Now hush, and I'll be out of your hair in no time. Mrs. Spaghetti spun on her heels and marched off, her slippers slapping on her linoleum floors. Finally, Gina muttered. She had no way of knowing for sure when Tony and his latest flavor of the month would show up, but the weekend right after payday was always a good bet. The other two break-ins had occurred when Tony usually got his paycheck, making her more certain it was him. Payday was about the only time the man had cash to take a date out. He wasn't the type to put money aside for a rainy day. If he wanted to go out, he did it when he got paid, because by the time the next payday rolled around, he was broke. Which meant tonight was a great night for him to try it again. A cop car pulled up beside the apartment building, and Gina swore under her breath. She leaned over and poked her head into Mrs. Spaghetti's open window. You seriously called the cops on me?
For you, dear, not on you, the woman said with an angelic smile. Well, maybe it's more like a killing two birds kind of thing. I don't want no peeping toms hanging around my fire escape, and you need help catching your pervert.
A knock sounded at the door, and Mrs. Spaghetti said,
Look at that! Here already! I bought their calendar last year, so I must be on the fast response list.
Gina scowled and rolled her eyes, but got back to watching for Tony. There's no such thing as a fast response list, and I'm not leaving. Mrs. Spaghetti shrugged.
Says you. Let's see what the nice officers have to say. You should have called them in the first place, you know.
Yeah, Gina muttered. The cops couldn't make her leave. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She didn't think. Until then, she was going to wait for... And speak of the devil, Gina sat up straighter and aimed the binoculars at the corner near the bakery. Son of a bitch. Tony strolled down the street, his arm wrapped around some bleached blonde with hooker heels and a dress that looked painted on. Gotcha, douchebag. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come inside. Gina jumped, startled at the deep voice behind her. Her gaze met a pair of incredible eyes belonging to an insanely gorgeous man. His eyes looked blue, but that might have been because of what he was wearing. When he leaned out the window a little farther, she could see his face without his clothing being in her eyesight. They appeared grayer. His thick brown hair was cropped close to his scalp on the sides, a little longer at the top. His full lips were moving, but she wasn't registering what he said. A tiny scar trailed down from the corner of his mouth. What had caused that? She had a vague recollection of someone who looked like him, only with a lot more skin showing. A lot of seriously...